Ultrakill, the fast-paced, in-your-face, retro-style boomer shooter. Now this game is fantastic for a ton of reasons, but one of those reasons truly resonated with me. The difficulty. For some FPS games, when you bring up the concept of increasing difficulties, they typically take the easy option out. And the problem is that when you complete these difficulties, it never really feels like a reward, but more like a limp pat on the back. They'll turn enemies into bullet sponges, make sure that you have less ammo available, and the one I find the most annoying is they'll just throw more enemies at you. And I don't mean like 1 or 2 more enemies. I'm talking going from 5 enemies on the screen to 20. Guaranteeing you're gonna get destroyed. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it sucks. Now, I don't mean that I just enjoy a game that will inherently kick my ass and make me wish I had wrists of steel, which would be nice, because that means that I could sink even more hours into this game. No. It's how Ultrakill defines difficulty that really intrigues me. I want to get beat up, thrown around, kicked while I'm on the ground, and still have fun. Is that too much to ask for? Well, luckily for us, Ultrakill does things a little differently around these parts, and I'm here to spread that knowledge. Most of these categories have 2 options. Accessibility has Harmless and Lenient, Hard has Standard and Violent, and Very Hard only has Brutal. At least for now. Each of these categories and difficulties perfectly portray to the player what kind of experience they're about to have, and not every game can pull that off. Let's start off with Harmless and Lenient. The game makes enemies slower while also making their attacks less aggressive and just overall easier for you to avoid. Your stamina comes back faster, there is absolutely no concept of hard damage, the environmental damage is reduced to 1/5, bosses are easier mechanically, and just to make sure you're having a good time, you start with double health. And this is a great way to really ease you into the game, especially if you're just picking up FPS games for the first time and want to see what all the hype is about. Now, Lenient is where the game starts to pick up the pace, but not too much. Everything I previously said about Harmless applies here as well, but crank the aggression dial up just a bit. Oh yeah, you also don't get double health anymore, your sweet stamina regen is still fast, but not as fast as Harmless, and now you're only taking half the environmental damage you would normally take. One final thing to note about these 2 difficulties is that enemies who fire multiple projectiles at you will fire less projectiles overall. And that just kind of adds to why it's easier to just not get hit. Now onto the hard category. Here we have Standard and Violent. Standard is exactly what it sounds like. The baseline that every difficulty after it will be based on. It is, in a literal sense, the foundation. Here, enemies have a healthy amount of aggression, hard damage makes an appearance, environmental damage is now more than just a sneeze of pain, and that amazing buff to stamina regen, poof, gone. To the wind. Now you gotta crawl like the rest of us when you click shift just a little too fast. Now, enemy attacks can still be avoided easily in this mode, given that you were granted the power of clairvoyance and know the attacks in advance, of course. Which I'm sure most of you do, since at the time of making this, a video titled How to Ultrakill Every Enemy from 2 years ago is sitting at a crisp 48,000 views. Here, you will also experience your fair share of deaths, regardless of your gift of prophecy. Make a wrong move? Punished. Run out of stamina surrounded by enemies and you're panicking, you're flailing? Punished. And for your sake, I hope that new tech you just learned about is easy to do or you have been practicing it, because otherwise, punished. Overall, I would say this difficulty is fair, it's fun, and it's a great start for anyone who's been in the FPS space for even a little bit of time. This is also the difficulty where a lot of y'all are going to encounter this game's first real boss, and I hope you don't go into it a little too cocky. Otherwise, punished. And now, on to the violent category. Oh, my beloved, how I adore your ability to suck countless hours of my life away from me. This is going to be, for most, an introduction to true pain. Now, not only are you going to have your standard buff to enemies' behavior, making them just more aggressive overall, but hard damage is now going to be sticking around for an extra second each time you're hit. So, I hope you like that funny little gray bar, because you're going to be getting well acquainted with it. Now, these changes are already enough to ruin your day, but then you take a step back and realize the bosses that were kicking your ass just a moment ago, well, they're about to be a whole lot meaner and aggressive. Thanks to this difficulty, if you weren't looking at improving your mechanics and game sense before, you will be forced to now. Speed and aggression are the name of the game, and not just for the enemies. That goes for you too. Finally, the very hard category. As of making this video, brutal is the only option, but boy oh boy, is it a big jump from violent. I'm sure the developers could have just buffed the enemy's stats to make this difficulty all rough and tough, but that wouldn't have been nearly as fun as what they actually did. Starting with one of the big changes, and this is something that I should have mentioned earlier, but the duration of hard damage received per hit increases with all difficulties after standard. So, brutal isn't really excluded from that. Another huge change was made to the enemy's behavior. Sure, they became more aggressive, but it's how the developers achieve this that matters. Soldiers now roll before shooting, Filth can put their 5-foot vert on display, Strays now attempt to predict where to fire, and so many more changes. In short, you're either going to have a bad time, or if you're anything like me, you're going to have a great time with this difficulty. Now, I've been working through this difficulty for a little bit now, and all it's really done is made me more eager to see what the developers are going to bring to the table when we unlock that final difficulty option. Now, if you've been paying attention to this video even a little, you would have noticed that I didn't mention the standard tropes associated with difficulty increases in games at all. And you know the ones I'm talking about. No, your total health is decreased. No, the enemies are now suddenly tanks. And no, hey, guess what? Your gun is now a pea shooter. Hey there, Vic from the future. So, it turns out that at brutal difficulty, bosses do get 50% more health when compared to the other difficulties, which does fall slightly in line with one trope. But hey, at least the regular enemies didn't get beefier. Okay, back to the present. It's truly refreshing that there is consistency between difficulties here. Like, congratulations to the Ultrakill team. Y'all did it. You have somehow made going from lower difficulties up to the higher difficulties feel less like a battle of attrition and more of a true test of your mechanical skills and just overall game sense. And again, I am impressed. And on that note, I'd love to conclude this video. I didn't want to do anything too in-depth, but if that is something you would like to see, please leave a like and comment down below. And remember, I'm not here to sugarcoat it, and neither are you. I'll see y'all around. Bye!